In this lesson, we are going to talk about the trigonometric functions for any angle. So here is our unit circle. It is centered at the origin, passes through the points 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, and 0, negative 1. Here I've drawn in a 150-degree angle. The 150-degree angle is only 30 degrees away from the negative x-axis. And we refer to the 30 degrees as the reference angle. So the 30 degrees is the angle made with the x-axis. A reference angle will always be a number between 0 and 90 degrees. Here I've drawn in the 30-degree angle that's in the first quadrant, and we can see that the red arrow is a reflection of the purple arrow over the y-axis. And that tells us that the trig values would be related to one another, which is what we're going to be looking at next. But first, let's do another example for a reference angle. What would be the reference angle for 230 degrees? So here is our unit circle. Drawing 230 degrees gets us into the third quadrant. We've gone past the negative x-axis by 50 degrees. And so we say that 50 degrees is the reference angle to the 230 degrees. So as I mentioned, the trig values for an angle and its reference angle, they actually have the same size, but they may differ in their sign, their sign, because it depends on whether we are in the first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, or fourth quadrant. So here is our unit circle again, and drawing the angle of 150 degrees that has the reference angle of 30 degrees. Sine of 150 degrees is the same as sine of 30 degrees, which equals a half. And this is because the y values in the first and the second quadrant are both positive. Then cosine of 150 degrees is negative cosine of 30 degrees because the x values are different signs, different signs. One is negative at 150 degrees, and the x value is positive for 30 degrees. So to address the trig value for cosine of for the cosine of 150 degrees, I know that it is negative cosine of 30 degrees. So negative square root of 3 over 2. How do I find the trig values for negative angles? Well, negative angles move clockwise around the circle. And so here is negative 135 degrees. Remember, we start from the positive x-axis. And for a negative angle, I would just move down and around. And so that makes an angle into the third quadrant. And we are 45 degrees away from the negative x-axis. And so we would say that the reference angle to negative 135 degrees is 45 degrees. And now, thinking about our trig values, sine of negative 135 degrees is negative sine of 45 degrees because the y values are negative in the third quadrant. and this equals negative square root of 2 over 2. And cosine of negative 135 degrees is negative cosine of 45 degrees, and that equals negative square root of 2 over 2. So negative angles, we move clockwise, but we find the reference angle in the same way. We can also find the trig values when the angles are greater than 360 degrees. This just means that our angle is wrapping around the origin. So if I want to draw an angle of 420 degrees, 420 degrees is 360 plus 60 degrees. So we went around the full circle and then 60 degrees more. And so we would say that 60 degrees is the reference angle. Notice that 420 degrees is in the first quadrant. And so sine of 420 degrees is just equal to sine of 60 degrees. And that equals the square root of 3 over 2. And cosine of 420 degrees is the same as cosine of cosine of 420 degrees is the same as cosine of 60 degrees, and that equals a half. So this is how we find trig values for any angle.